You know that feeling when you're leaning back in the dental chair for a filling and you just start thinking? It seems so routine, right? But what's actually happening is this incredible mix of material science, ergonomics, even microbiology, all inside your mouth. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the humble dental filling. Right, so just how simple is it? We tend to think of it as just a quick fix. But the thing is, every single part of it, from the way you're sitting in the chair to the exact material they pick for your tooth, is the result of decades and decades of scientific research. Turns out, it's anything but simple. Okay, so first things first, let's set the stage. That room where all the magic happens, the dental operatory, it's not just some room with a fancy chair in it. Nope. It's a totally engineered environment built from the ground up for precision, for comfort, and, of course, for safety. And the way you're positioned in that chair, it's not random at all. It's actually a super carefully calculated balancing act. It's all about finding that sweet spot between your comfort, which, helps you stay relaxed and cooperative, and the dentist's efficiency. They need a clear, unstrained posture to do their best work. When both sides are balanced, the whole procedure just goes smoother and is safer for everyone involved. So, how do dentists actually achieve that perfect posture time after time? Well, they use this really cool system called the clock concept. Just imagine for a second that your head is smack dab in the center of a giant clock face. This whole system helps the dental team place themselves at very specific hours around you, giving them the absolute best angle and access to every part of your mouth. And for a right-handed dentist, the absolute sweet spot, the power position, is 11 o'clock. By sitting just behind you and to your right, they can comfortably bring their arm around your head. From there, they can get to pretty much every single surface of every tooth, whether they're looking directly or using a little mirror. It's basically the command center for the whole operation. Okay, but a perfect stage is about way more than just comfortable chairs and good posture. It's also about building like an invisible fortress against infection. And I'm not just talking about wiping down a counter. The level of infection control in a dental office is, well, it's intense. It's designed to break every single possible chain of transmission. And to build that fortress, you have to understand all the ways infection can spread. And it goes every which way. It can go from you, the patient, to the dental worker. It can go from the worker back to you. It can even go from one patient to another on a contaminated surface. It's why the protocols have to cover everything. It's a real 360-degree defense system. Now, here's a really important distinction that's a key part of that defense. The difference between disinfection and sterilization. You know when they wipe down the chair you were sitting in? That's disinfection. It kills most of the bad stuff. But the instruments that actually go inside your mouth, oh, that's a whole other level. They go through sterilization, usually in a machine called an autoclave that uses pressurized steam. Sterilization is the absolute, it destroys all forms of life, no exceptions. All right, so the stage is set, it's safe and sterile. Now the spotlight turns to the main actor in this whole play, you. Before a single drill starts spinning, the goal is to get you comfortable, calm, and ready for a totally smooth procedure. And let's be real, managing dental anxiety is a huge piece of the puzzle. Dentists basically have two main paths to help with that. The first is what's called iatrosedation. That's all about the human touch, a calm voice, explaining what's happening, just building that trust. The other path is pharmacosedation. That's when medicine steps in, using drugs to help calm you down when a good bedside manner just isn't quite cutting it. Okay, so you're numb, you're calm, everything's ready to go. The dentist is about to start working on the tooth. But there's something delicate, something alive deep inside that tooth that has to be protected at all costs. Any idea what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the dental pulp. This is the living, breathing core of your tooth. It's where all the nerves and blood vessels are. So really, every single step of getting a filling isn't just about patching up the outside. It's about making sure this living center is totally protected from any more harm. And believe me, the pulp has a lot of enemies. The most obvious one, of course, is the bacteria from the cavity itself. But here's the surprising part. The fix, the procedure itself, can actually be a threat too. Think about it. The heat from the drill, chemicals in the filling materials, even just the pressure of packing it in, all of that has to be managed so carefully to keep that living pulp safe and sound. All right, and now for the main event. The tooth is prepped, the pulp is protected. It's time to actually choose the filling material. And in the world of dentistry, the two heavyweights, the most common workhorses, are the classic silver amalgam and the modern white composite. So let's start with the classic, the old school champ, silver amalgam.
I mean, this stuff has been around for almost 200 years. It is a true legacy material in dentistry. It's a mix of metals, silver, mercury, and others, and it has been tested, tweaked, and refined for generations.
So, why on earth is a 200-year-old material still being used today? Well, the advantages are just super practical. It's really tough, it's low cost, and it's what we call less technique sensitive, which means it's pretty forgiving to work with in a wet, challenging place like your mouth. It even has this cool ability to kind of self-seal over time. But the trade-offs are pretty big. For one, it's silver. And because it doesn't actually bond to your tooth, the dentist has to remove more healthy tooth just to create a shape that physically locks it in. Okay, now let's look at the modern competitor, white composite resin. The biggest advantage is pretty obvious, right? It looks like a tooth. Plus, and this is huge, it chemically bonds directly to the tooth. That means the dentist can be way more conservative and just remove the decayed part. So what are the downsides? Well, it's more expensive, it's way more technique sensitive, and it can actually shrink a tiny bit as it hardens. Okay, now this chart reveals a kind of hidden battle that's happening in your mouth every time you drink hot coffee or eat ice cream. See, both amalgam and composite expand and contract with temperature changes way more than your natural tooth does. All that tiny, constant pushing and pulling puts a ton of stress right where the filling meets the tooth. Over years, that can cause little gaps and leaks. It's a constant fight against physics. All right, so we've covered the materials, but how do you make a restoration actually last? Well, it's not just about picking the right stuff. It's about some serious engineering that goes into preparing the tooth before the filling ever goes in. Every single time, the dentist is following a blueprint, kind of like this one. They're not just randomly drilling out the bad stuff. No, they are precisely shaping that little cavity to stand up to chewing forces, to physically hold the filling in place, and also just to get enough room to see what they're doing. Every single cut is a deliberate, engineered move. So what happens when these fillings fail? Well, for silver amalgam, it usually comes down to its physical properties. Because it's strong but also kind of brittle and it doesn't bond, it can just crack under heavy chewing. Or even worse, it can act like a wedge and crack the healthy tooth around it. White composite failures, though, that's a different story. It almost always comes down to technique. Are you sensing a theme here? It's all about getting that chemical bond perfect. Any tiny bit of moisture, a small mistake with the bonding agent, even hardening it with the light too fast. Any of that can create microscopic gaps that will cause it to fail later on. So the next time you find yourself leaning back in that chair, you'll know what's really going on. That so-called simple filling, it's really this complex dance between ergonomics, microbiology, biology, and material science. It's so much more than just filling a hole. It's about mastering dozens of hidden steps to give you something that's healthy, works right, and is truly built to last. Makes you think, doesn't it?